Kalshi has been around since 2018, offering these event contract trading prediction markets where you can wager on things like the weather, whether or not Dave Portnoy is going to give a 9.0 on his next pizza review spot, and then the election, which is where they really made headlines. Election betting is technically illegal.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Put Pete Crow Armstrong on the mound to see what he does. Like, Ohtani, just by himself at the plate, is the best hitter in Major League Baseball. Let's just say, keep it in the National League at this point. He's the MVP. So I can't wait till he pitches 6 innings, gives up 5 earned runs. Time they go like, I don't know if he could be the MVP now. Oh, no, he's still hitting 300 with 45 jacks and just pitched 6 innings in a Major League Baseball game. And people are going to hold that against him.
Pro Baseball Today. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're betting $50 a pop, doesn't matter. But if you want to bet 2 or 3 grand each side and literally have plus 110 on both sides, not the worst way to make some money on a Sunday night.
Not at all, right? I mean, and that's amazing. I've never really watched this in real time where you see these odds fluctuate with penalty kicks going on.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scotty, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Like, don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions. Only on Sports.
Hello and welcome to a Tuesday live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination to consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. A Tuesday, but not just a simple Tuesday in the summer. It is a new month as we say welcome to July. And as DRS has been breaking down for you for the last few weeks, this month, there will be an NFL football game contested on the final day of July. Now, on its first, the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. That means we have football in our lives. At least a single football game played for the next 8 months in a row, DRS, consecutively. Welcome back, football, and a big day around the NFL yesterday, circulating on really one team, that being the Pittsburgh Steelers. Plenty to break down here in this opening hour, and over our 3 hours, it's an NBA free agency frenzy. Maybe not the marquee names or superstars on the move, but plenty of market movement based on the beginning of free agency and the flurry of moves that we did see. We'll go around a Monday in Major League Baseball ahead of a full slate Tuesday as well. DRS, welcome to July. Football is almost back.
Feels like we made it. 4th of July is this Friday, and away we go into training camps. You absolutely love to see it. And yes, we've been talking about that for quite some time at this point. And you know what I love about NBA free agency? And they do this sometime with football. Like, understand this from the major accounts. When I see breaking news, it better be a named player that I know that averages at least 20-plus points, because I don't care about breaking news. A guy is coming over from Spain to play in the NBA on a 2-way contract. That's not breaking news here in the NBA. Just give me the information that we need. People are getting paid. We want to understand why they're getting paid. I don't want to hear about a 2-way contract from a guy that's coming over for overseas. But having said that, a lot of people did get paid in the NBA. A lot of moving parts at this point, and also the Miami Heat. Yeah. I don't know what you're doing. Neither does anybody else.
DRS, there were a few teams yesterday, though, that made some moves to bolster up a roster to be fully in entering 2025-26. But to Donnie's point, of course, there was some conversation and conjecture yesterday, a flurry of moves, but not exactly stars around the association. NBA free agency officially beginning last night at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Some of the headlines: the Atlanta Hawks and the Houston Rockets making a flurry of maneuvers to be all in championship contenders this season. DRS, to highlight Atlanta for just a moment. Great work by our producer extraordinaire tracking these numbers. The Hawks post-draft, that was at the end of Thursday last week, about 5 days ago, 95-1 to win an NBA championship. They acquired Kristaps Porzingis via a trade in the last week as well. Last night, making some moves around the NBA. They are now 31-1, including the signing of Nickeil Alexander-Walker from the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Rockets making moves. Welcome back, Clint Capella. Not exactly the superstars that we're used to in NBA free agency of old, but still a busy night around the association.
Certainly was. And Alexander Walker, as we said, like, you can't go up against it like that second apron here. You have to lose some good players, and Minnesota does lose some good players, which means a team is going to have to add on some new players. Atlanta completely transforming that roster here, bring in some defense as well, which you have to love, being next to Trae Young. We'll see how it plays out, but the one thing I think we can agree upon, that huge dump there in odds is key, because why? The East is wide open. So if you're making moves to improve yourself, you're going to move to the top of that list.
Now a 30-1 price that has been slashed by a third and then some. The Atlanta Hawks have the fourth best number to win an NBA championship, hailing from the Eastern Conference. The best, the New York Knicks. Jordan Clarkson on his way to the Big Apple, it was reported, after he clears waivers in a parting of ways with the Utah Jazz. Not just free agency acquisitions, but some big trades last night as well, including this one between the Denver Nuggets and the Brooklyn Nets. Michael Porter Jr. and an unprotected 2032 first rounder on its way from altitude to BK in return to Denver. Welcome in Cam Johnson, averaged a career-high 18.8 points per game last season with the Nets. The Nuggets also add Bruce Brown in free agency, who, of course, was a part of that 2023 championship team just a few years ago.
Yeah, you see the Nuggets here, like Michael Porter Jr. saying, oh, man, come on. Like every other game, maybe a bad game or two, looking for a little bit more offense, and maybe they found it here. Sometimes on a team like the Nuggets, expecting championships, minor tweaks make the most difference here, and maybe this one's going to work out in their favor.
Frees up a lot of cap space for Denver as well. They are trying to bolster this roster around Nikola Jokic, and the odds makers agree. It is no longer KD now in H-Town with the second best price out of the Western Conference to win a chip. That would be the Denver Nuggets, now at plus 850, 17-1 just yesterday. But after the flurry of moves, plenty of market movement. All right, so we had free agency acquisitions. We had blockbuster trades in the NBA. How about some contract extensions on the opening night of free agency? The Memphis Grizzlies active yesterday. They give Jaren Jackson Jr. a 5-year max extension worth $240 million. The 2023 Defensive Player of the Year at only 25 is already a two-time All-Star. Last year, DRS averaging better than 22 points per game in the Grind City.
Would have looked good next to Desmond Bane and Ja Morant, but Desmond Bane on the move there to Orlando. So guys got to get paid. You got to shake up that roster. He deserved to get paid. It was his time to get paid, and that's the market rate going. So there you go, Memphis.
Cole Anthony as well, probably going to be out of Memphis, involved in that Desmond Bane trade, but probably heading elsewhere. Taylor Jenkins, former Grizzlies head coach, fired late last year and interviewed with the New York Knicks for that head coaching vacancy. So is Mike Brown, who was ousted midway through the season last year in Sacramento. The four-time head coach set to interview with the Knickerbockers for a second time, DRS.
Yeah, and here's what I like about this. They're just stalling right now. They are being devious behind closed doors to get some of these upper-level coaches here to quit on their franchise so they can pick them up here. Why don't you say, Mike Brown a fourth time sometime around Labor Day? That should work.
Yeah, that's not exactly the blockbuster name we expected when the Knicks dismissed Tom Thibodeau. Trade rumors yesterday around the Pittsburgh Steelers after a trade was completed. We brought you that breaking news at the end of TEL yesterday. Minkah Fitzpatrick to Miami, Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith heading to the Steel City. But DRS, TJ Watt, unhappy with his contract situation, did not report to mandatory minicamp. Now some rumors circulating that teams are inquiring about Watt's status in the Steel City.
Yeah, I would like to see who's actually leaking that information. Is that TJ Watt's side? Is it the Steelers' side? Because it'd be hard found to say, you know what, TJ Watt is on the move. When you say, like, it looks like the Pittsburgh Steelers are ramping up for 1 or 2 year run here, wouldn't TJ Watt fit really well into that little barometer? I don't know if he's ever going to move, but boy, oh boy, if he does and goes to a contender, let's just say, like the Buffalo Bills or the Philadelphia Eagles, that would send some shockwaves around the NFL.
Plenty more around the Steelers later on in this first hour. DRS, the Boston Red Sox jumping all over the Reds yesterday at Fenway, and the rookie in his second start, Chase Burns. 7 runs scored in the first for the Sox, and then later in the game, Wheeler Abreu for Boston, an inside the park home run and a grand slam. In the same game, Wheeler Abreu for Boston, DRS, the first player to do both of those in the same game since 1958.
It's pretty impressive here, and also for Chase Burns. I guess the Reds fans just can't have nice things. Excited for the kid to come up. He's been getting beat like a piñata around Major League Baseball. That's a tough scene.
Carlos Alcaraz in his opening match at Wimbledon avoids a stunner, winning in 5 sets. Today in the women's draw, Jessica Pegula ousted, upset in round number 1. More TEL next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Six p.m. Eastern Time on Monday, June 30th, the final day of last month, as we welcome you to a Tuesday, July 1st, here on the Early Line. That was the start of free agency last night at 6 p.m. Eastern around the association. But not just free agency signings or contract extensions, DRS. Large trades happening last night in the NBA. This was the largest in what we have seen as a flurry of maneuvers and early on here in the NBA offseason in these summer months. The Brooklyn Nets trading away Cam Johnson to the Denver Nuggets. In return, Denver sends Michael Porter Jr. in a 2032 unprotected first-round selection, making their way back to BK. Of course, MPJ, a part of the championship-winning team for Denver, now 3 NBA years ago in 2023. But this year, it was clear maybe a change was needed for the Nugs. They make the big deal. They acquire Cam Johnson, a guy that averaged nearly 19 points per game, 18.8 to be exact this season inside the Barclays Center. That a career best. It also frees up some money, some cash flow, some cap space for that Nuggets franchise to utilize at altitude. Denver, a big move last night on the opening night of free agency.
Yeah, I think it's a good move for Denver, too. As you said, moving around some cap space, but I do get a valuable basketball player. Now, also understand this. You have a guy that's putting up, let's just say, 20 points on a team that's going absolutely nowhere just for hollow 20 points every night. That doesn't necessarily equate to you're going to plug this guy into a lineup there that has Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, and also certainly Jamal Murray, who are going to be the guys scoring the basketballs. He's going to take away their shots. He should be fine, but it's one of those things where I say to myself, a slight tweak. Didn't work out last year. Let's add some new energy to the lineup, and I think this provides it. Now, what the Brooklyn Nets are doing, I have no idea. But then again, on a year-to-year basis, nobody ever knows what the Brooklyn Nets are doing. They're only like another day away from a complete rebuild once again. It seems like they stop, start. That's what Brooklyn's did since they moved to the Barclays Center.
Yeah, DRS, kind of hard to argue that statement. An interesting draft for Sean Marks and that Brooklyn front office just about a week ago, utilizing all 5 of their first-round picks and a lot of guys that can facilitate, not a ton of scores. But now after the acquisition of MPJ, maybe that's a good thing. You have Cam Thomas and Michael Porter Jr. in that Brooklyn starting 5. Very ball-dominant, ball-heavy, shall we say. Cam Johnson maybe not as much for a Denver offense, of course, that has many mouths to feed, led by Nikola Jokic. Another new move for the Nugs last night, bringing back a familiar face in Bruce Brown, another member of that championship team 3 seasons ago, and a fan favorite in the Mile High City. Because of that, DRS, Denver, the blockbuster deal to acquire Cam Johnson, adding in Bruce Brown, of course, making some of these moves to better that roster around Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and Aaron Gordon with a new head coach in David Adelman. The odds makers feeling confident that Denver will be a contender out west. Plus 850 now the price on the Nugs to win an NBA championship. Second best for teams hailing from the Western Conference, as you see there. Of course, there is still going to be a gap and probably remain a large and substantial gap between the Thunder and everybody else out west the entirety of this NBA season. But Denver moves in front of Houston, 17-1 yesterday before free agency began. Slash that price in half and then some, plus 850 now for Denver.
Yeah, they should. And they should move higher up there. And also understand this. Just a couple years ago, the Denver Nuggets won a world championship. Oh, they've been bad. Well, they went to Game 7 against the NBA champion this year. So small tweaks make a big difference. And again, we talk about like the Kansas City Chiefs. As long as Andy Reid is there, as long as Patrick Mahomes is there, you will be fine. As long as Jamal Murray is healthy and you have a healthy Nikola Jokic, you will be just fine and be a contender in the West, which is all you can ask for. They're a playoff team. They'll make a deep run in the playoffs as long as they're healthy and you let that ride out. Maybe this year they can get home court advantage away from OKC to have that home court advantage in elevation as opposed to playing in OKC. I like the move that they made here. Minor tweaks again. You didn't need a major roster overhaul. The bones of this organization are still there. You just want to add some extra energy, and maybe they got that now.
The Grizzlies making some moves already this offseason. The drastic trade sending Desmond Bane to Orlando. It does seem now as the Grizz will clear space and allow Cole Anthony to find his new destination. But a max extension yesterday for Memphis handed out to Jaren Jackson Jr., Triple J, a 5-year, $240 million max extension to remain in the grind city. Memphis, of course, the 8th seed last year in the Western Conference, fading down the stretch, dismissing head coach Taylor Jenkins in an offseason of change already, but not with Jaren Jackson Jr. He is set to remain in Memphis for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, good player here. But also, you know what's interesting? Like, you take a look at Major League Baseball contracts, like Scott Boras. Like, hey, I want that guy on my side. He's an absolute shark out here. He's going to get me the most I can possibly get. He's going to earn every single penny that I pay for him. Same thing in the NFL. Like, you come up, like, let's just say Lamar Jackson. And, like, I think his representation was basically his family at this point, but still an agency that represented you, where if you get something where it's, hey, high-level place, worth their price in gold. I see the tweet here by Shams, and it's, head of CAA basketball, Austin Brown, and CAA agent Max Seidman negotiated the new agreement. It's the max. What did he negotiate? Like, he was always going to get the max. Like, it's almost like in the NBA sometimes, like, I'm going to pay you 3 or 5% of a max deal when I could have just went to the organization and go, yeah, just give me the max. That's what I'm worth. Yeah, okay, here's the max at this point. Always get a kick out of, like, you're getting credit for the organization where it's CAA. Like, hey, great job done. Like, no, it's paint and just press a button here, and that's what you get at this point. He deserves that money, but CAA, they're loving this, man. Max extension, that he's going to get that? Yeah, pay us our, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, 20 million off of this? What a great negotiation tactic.
The main insider now, of course, Shams Charania. I think DRS highlighting the agencies and the agents that got deals done to kind of flex on why he has all these inside sources and scoops. Probably part of that contingency plan. By the way, for the Memphis Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson Jr. is back. Ja Morant remains. They bring back Santi Aldama as well to Memphis. 100-1 now, though, for the Grizz to win an NBA championship this upcoming season. Not exactly the most optimistic or favorable price around the Western Conference. The New York Knicks need a new head coach. We'll discuss on the other side of the break, because the former head man for the Grizz, Taylor Jenkins, is in the running. But is Mike Brown, the 4-time NBA head coach, the front runner? More of that next.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA, DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course and safe, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We'll get to some notable free agent acquisitions on the opening night of free agency in just a moment. Maybe not superstars or even all-stars around the NBA, but still some significant pieces that have certainly moved the market. DRS, the New York Knicks enter free agency without a head coach in place. We know they have interviewed three people, that being Taylor Jenkins, Micah Nori, and Mike Brown. They have also reached out, it would appear, to South Carolina and the superstar in women's basketball in Dawn Staley. Has that been a full interview? That remains to be seen. But we do know a second interview is on the way for Mike Brown as well, who was dismissed midway through last season by the Sacramento Kings and has been the head coach at 4 different spots. Might New York and Madison Square Garden be his 5th?
No, it better not be his 5th. Like, I'd rather hire somebody I never heard of at this point who's up and coming and supposed to be a real analytics guy that can drive that team, as opposed to the comfortable coach that comes in and the players like him and they get nothing out of it here. If you're going to fire Tom Thibodeau, you're not going to go ahead and hire Mike Brown. You're going to fire Thibodeau because you have a rock star above his level, or you're going, nope. We've identified this 26-year-old coach who's coming over from Spain or France. This guy is the next level. He's going to take us here and push us through to get us to an NBA Finals and or an NBA championship, which is something New York hasn't had in a while. We were always thought to believe you fire Thibodeau because you have something better in your back pocket. And in your back pocket was never the thought it was going to be Mike Brown.
No, you never really did believe that, DRS. And it's not a great sign for the New York Knicks. However, the Knicks making some moves on the opening night of free agency. Jordan Clarkson agrees to a buyout with the Utah Jazz. When he clears waivers, Shams Charania telling us Clarkson is on his way to the Big Apple. A nice piece for a frontrunner in the Eastern Conference now in the New York Knicks. Is Ty Jerome the reason for that? A finalist for 6th Man of the Year last year with the Cavaliers, DRS. He now leaves Cleveland. He heads to Memphis on a 3-year, $28 million deal. In Cleveland, who had the shortest price to win an NBA championship entering yesterday out of the Eastern Conference at 6-1, moves back by $4 to 10-1. We gave our producer extraordinaire, Joe Frizo, some flack yesterday for including Ty Jerome on a graphic of notable free agents that might be on the move when free agency began yesterday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern time because the two went to high school together. Ty Jerome, a market mover.
How about that? Moving it around, solid guard that you can sort of lean on here. But I get a kick out of too. Like, imagine that's your contract. Like, I'm hoping to get something here. You just signed with a new organization, like 3 years, $28 million. It's all guaranteed. You move to a new state. Like, it's got to be a great time for some of these guys that finally made it. Because yes, we always talk about the LeBron James and the $50 million and Jaren Jackson's making all that money. But the mid-level guys are like, you know what? I made it, man. This isn't a 2-way contract, a 1-year, $2.5 million deal that they can send me down to the G League at any time. Like 3 years, $28 million, worked hard in college. You had some success there. You made a name for yourself in the NBA and you got yourself a nice deal. Like, these are the real winners of free agency. We usually just talk about the upper level end of the spectrum, man. Congratulations to guys doing big things like that.
And Donnie, we knew entering last night there wasn't the upper level echelon of free agents available this summer nor in this market. So again, you see the notable NBA free agency signings, and here are a few of the notable names that we highlight. Are they superstars? Are they all-stars? Heck, might they even be in the starting 5 for their new teams? Maybe not. Are they going to make a difference? Perhaps. Karis LeVert, a nice deal to head back to Detroit. Of course, he played his college basketball at Michigan. Brook Lopez, the veteran big, makes his way to L.A. with the Clippers. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, maybe the big move of the night. He signs a 4-year deal, $62 million with the Atlanta Hawks, who saw a lot of market movement in their favor in the last week or so. And Dorian Finney-Smith also signs a deal with the Houston Rockets, a great 3-and-D guy that provides that presence off the bench, perhaps, for Houston. Those two teams, DRS, not just because of Nickeil Alexander-Walker or DFS, are very, very in on this year. Atlanta's price post-draft last week, 95-1 to win a Larry O'Brien trophy. Now it is 30-1, 4th best from teams in the Eastern Conference. And Houston was leapfrogged last night by the Denver Nuggets, but the Rockets still that 3rd best price out of the Western Conference, plus 950, 4th best overall.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, you saw them run the Sixers in game number 7 with Trae Young. Hey, things are building up. Those on-court rivalries with the Knicks here. But now finally feels like Atlanta got it right. Like, let's surround this guy with legitimate talent where he can be the playmaker we need and other guys can compensate with defense and off-the-ball skills here. I like what Atlanta's doing. So do a lot of people.
An off-season in the NBA, a busy off-season in the NFL. Next.
Kalshi has been around since 2018, offering these event contract trading prediction markets where you can wager on things like the weather, whether or not Dave Portnoy is going to give a 9.0 on his next pizza review spot, and then the election, which is where they really made headlines. Election betting is technically illegal.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Put Pete Crow Armstrong on the mound to see what he does. Like, Ohtani, just by himself at the plate, is the best hitter in Major League Baseball. Let's just say, keep it in the National League at this point. He's the MVP. So I can't wait till he pitches 6 innings, he gives up 5 earned runs. Time they go like, I don't know if he could be the MVP now. Oh, no, he's still hitting 300 with 45 jacks and just pitched 6 innings in a Major League Baseball game. And people are going to hold that against him.
Pro Baseball Today. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're betting $50 a pop, doesn't matter. But if you want to bet 2 or 3 grand each side and literally have plus 110 on both sides, not the worst way to make some money on a Sunday night.
Not at all, right? I mean, and that's amazing. I've never really watched this in real time where you see these odds fluctuate with penalty kicks going on.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scotty, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Like, don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
A busy day yesterday for the Pittsburgh Steelers for a multitude of reasons. At the end of our show, bright and early on a Monday morning, on the final day of June, a blockbuster deal. We have already told you about it. We've had some time to reset and see that the Pittsburgh Steelers are making moves. A big deal, but is it really a big deal for Pittsburgh in terms of their hopes of finally winning a playoff game for the first time in nearly a decade? DRS, you would believe that if the Steelers are fully gung-ho on being fully in, then TJ Watt, the leader of their defense and one of the faces of this franchise, would have to be there super happy and positive as well. Hasn't been the case this offseason in the Steel City. TJ Watt did not show up to mandatory minicamp. He wants a new deal for being one of the best edge rushers in all of the National Football League. And as that new deal still has yet to be signed between Pittsburgh and Watt, multiple teams, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, have been discussing whether they can make a trade package enticing enough to lure TJ Watt away from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just because teams are inquiring does not mean we are even close to having TJ Watt being on the trading block. But the fact there was this report on a busy day in the Steel City tells you what, Donnie?
It tells me that the Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to be moving on from TJ Watt. And hear me out on this, right? Because let's go over the background of TJ Watt, one of the best sack artists we've seen over the past 25 years in the NFL. Let's also not forget, the favorite son on the Pittsburgh Steelers of Mike Tomlin. It's TJ Watt. TJ Watt doesn't want to go anywhere. I don't think he gets moved at this point. But also understand this. If we were going to move TJ Watt, what would have made sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers? We're ramping up for this year. Oh, we traded him draft night for a first-round pick and maybe a 2026 third-round pick. But the reason I say this is you would get a legitimate number one back who you can use for like a defensive end to try to replace him, move on and drop all that salary cap, and then still have money to have like those extra free agents that might be left over or cut that you can sign. It doesn't make any sense here, Ben, for the Pittsburgh Steelers to trade TJ Watt now without getting any draft compensation back. And we're not going to have another, NBA style deal like, hey, Fitzpatrick's going to get traded up for Jalen Ramsey. That's not going to happen for TJ Watt at this point. You're not matching up salaries here. So I don't think it makes any sense whatsoever. And I think it's a lot of bluster where they probably have a number in mind, the Steelers. TJ Watt does. TJ Watt probably thinks it's a little disrespectful. I just sold Myles Garrett that. I want that money. Going, well, we don't really fit you in there. You make this amount of money. We know how negotiations go, but understand this. Like, Mike Tomlin rules with an iron fist there. If you think Mike Tomlin goes to that organization and says, you know what, general manager and ownership group with the Rooneys, I need this guy, and they go, we just can't afford him. That's not happening. He's going to be back. So for me, it's interesting because you make moves for a win-now season with Aaron Rodgers, which you did. You upgraded your quarterback position, and that quarterback's not going to be there for 5 years. The run window is now. Trading TJ Watt while you're trying to make a run, that doesn't make any sense.
Completely agree, DRS. And I think Myles Garrett is a very apt comparison for TJ Watt, both recently in the last 3 years, winning Defensive Player of the Year. Of course, as you saw in the career accolades for TJ Watt, there are very few better. A 7-time Pro Bowler. He has been a Pro Bowl pick each of the last 7 seasons. He has been in the NFL for 8 years, all with Pittsburgh. He is a 6-time All-Pro performer. He has led the National Football League in sacks 3 of the last 5 seasons. Last year, second most sacks in the NFL behind Trey Hendrickson of Cincinnati. But Watt still led the National Football League in forced fumbles, causing havoc as he often does, forcing 6. He has also finished top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year voting each of the last 5 seasons that he has played at least 15 games. There are very few better defenders in the National Football League than TJ Watt. It is a question of money. And again, why Myles Garrett makes a lot of sense to compare this is not just the AFC North or former DPOYs, but Myles Garrett during Super Bowl week back in early February demanded a trade from the Cleveland Browns, seemingly wanting to play for a Super Bowl contender. Made a lot of sense. TJ Watt hasn't demanded a trade. There might be some speculation, some trade rumors are circulating around Pittsburgh. What did Garrett get at the end? Not a blockbuster deal for multiple first-round picks, but $40 million per year. He is the highest paid edge rusher in the National Football League. DRS, in fact, there are now 3 edge rushers around the NFL that make more than $35.5 million per year. Garrett at 40, Danielle Hunter of the Houston Texans, and Mad Max Crosby of the Las Vegas Raiders. When did each of those 3 players ink those extensions? This offseason. TJ Watt right now paid a little bit more than $28 million per year of annual average value based on his salary. Still 7th most, still a lot of money around the NFL, but he is certainly deserving of being in that $35+ million per year company, especially because of where the inflated buck has gone in these contract extensions for edge rushers. That is this negotiating game. By no means do we expect TJ Watt to be playing somewhere not named Pittsburgh in 2025. It's just a matter of time before he signs that contract extension.
Also, and only a few guys in the NFL can do this. Backup linebackers can't say, hey, did you see what Ray Lewis just got paid? Like, no, that doesn't work that way. But when you're at the high level here for contracts that can always get redone, and keep in mind, the NFL, you can be cut at any time. They can ask you to renegotiate your contract down here. So when TJ Watt still has that, hammer in his hand, he can do this. Don't you remember, Ben? Maybe let's just call it 10 years ago, where it was Julio Jones and Andre Johnson. Every year they got a new contract. Why? Julio got paid. I want $1 more than Julio. Boom. Next year, the guy, Julio Jones does it. Andre Johnson rekindles that because why? They were the 2 best wide receivers in football. You can do that. Not the 3rd best wide receiver on your football team. TJ Watt's going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. That would be a shocker. Now, when we saw that trade go down yesterday from Adam Schefter, it's like, whoa, look at the moving parts in this trade here. You drop me one of these in August, late July. TJ Watt has been moved to the Miami Dolphins, let's just say, on their trade yesterday. That would be shocking. TJ Watt's going to be in camp. TJ Watt's going to be a great player for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, not another team.
In DRS, we talked yesterday about that defensive side of the football for Pittsburgh. We'll further that conversation in just a moment. Again, the Steelers this year are trying to win a playoff game, actually make a deeper postseason run for the first time since 2016. But with TJ Watt in the fold, who has not won a playoff game despite the accolades during his 8 years in Pittsburgh, it has been that defense that has been top 10 in scoring each of the last 3 years that has been one of the main reasons for that consistent success in the Steel City and even playoff appearances. So let's get to that blockbuster trade yesterday between the Steelers and the Dolphins. First, we learned that Jalen Ramsey was being dealt by Miami to Pittsburgh. What was going back to the Fins? Oh, it was Minkah Fitzpatrick. And then another trade, or so we thought just a little bit later on. Jonnu Smith in a pick swap, leaving Miami, heading to Pittsburgh. It was really one trade, and there it is on your screen. Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, and a 2027 7th-round pick headed to the Pittsburgh Steelers. In return, the Fins get Minkah Fitzpatrick and a 2027 5th-round selection. DRS, it's been nearly 24 hours, again, since this blockbuster trade, in quotes, did go through, and we figured out exactly what the details were. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I don't know what the Dolphins are doing in their offseason, quite frankly, here, and I think they might be set up for a train wreck this season. Tua Tagovailoa, is he going to survive? Is their head coach going to survive this season if it goes off the rails? But understand this, like if you are just looking at metrics, like the trade looks fun on both ends of it. But when you dig into some of the numbers, let's just say Pro Football Focus, Jalen Ramsey was the 16th best cornerback in the NFL last year, and he's 30 years old. So you say probably can get a couple more years out of it in his prime. You look at Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's only 28, Ben, but the 52nd ranked safety in the NFL. So I don't really know what Miami's doing other than, well, Jalen Ramsey really wanted out. We don't want to cut him. We want to at least get a player back. So I get that. But I think the real winner was the Pittsburgh Steelers getting Jonnu Smith, just another weapon there for Aaron Rodgers. Now you have Freiermuth on one side, Jonnu Smith on the other, Aaron Rodgers back there. You got DK Metcalf on the outside, solid running game. Like, I like what the Pittsburgh Steelers are shaping up. And if you say who won the trade, I think it was the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday. I do.
No doubt, DRS. In terms of notoriety in winning this deal, the Steelers made a significant move. But how significant of a needle mover is it for the Steelers, and how does it change its outlook? That's what we'll discuss up next.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA, DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course than OKC, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this first day of July, a month in which an NFL football game, albeit preseason, will be played. The final day of June featured a big trade around the National Football League, but a big deal maybe in terms of notoriety. How big of a deal is it to shift the outlook this season for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Again, Jonnu Smith, Jalen Ramsey, 2027 seventh rounder, making its way to Pittsburgh. In return to Miami, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and a 2027 fifth round pick. So DRS, did it move the needle for the Steelers to get a guy who was a three-time All-Pro performer in Jalen Ramsey? Not a Pro Bowler last year in Miami, but a Pro Bowler the season prior in his first year in South Florida. Jonnu Smith was the only Pro Bowler last year for the Fins, and a dismal season in Miami. The answer, not so much. These are the odds for Pittsburgh entering 2025. You see the movement on the left, those numbers from June 5th, the day that Aaron Rodgers officially came to terms with the Pittsburgh Steelers. On the right, where those odds are right now. Win total, still 8.5. The under has a small bit of juice at minus 125. Does it make them a surefire playoff team? The odds makers say no, plus 140. The Steelers still more likely to miss the postseason than make it. Same price in the AFC North. A slightly better number to win an AFC championship, but yesterday morning, before the deal was done, just based on the market moving ever so slightly, a 19-1 price on the Steelers to win the AFC. That moved back by $1 throughout the day after the deal was complete. And the Super Bowl price actually $1 longer now than it was earlier in the month of June. So it's nice, DRS, to add Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. Does it make a ton of difference for Pittsburgh? The odds makers don't really say so.
No, and it shouldn't make a big difference there at this point because those numbers were baked in once we thought Aaron Rodgers was always going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, and he was. It's almost like cheating to say, I just want to see what shows up on opening night when they take on the New York Jets, right? Like, I feel like if I can watch Aaron Rodgers mobile in the pocket, playing well, I'm like, you know what? The Steelers have a chance. Now, that chance doesn't mean a Super Bowl because I don't think they do have a chance at the Super Bowl. But when we take a look at, like, how the Pittsburgh Steelers get down on a year-to-year season, it doesn't matter who their quarterback is. They're always usually going to have an aggressive, really good defense to run the football and to keep things under wraps. And that provides winning seasons. So I ask the people out there, which it's easy to hate on Aaron Rodgers, but I think everybody can agree from what you saw last year to this year, Aaron Rodgers is going to be an upgrade at the quarterback position. Again, still a very good defense where they're adding components and we expect TJ Watt to be back. The offense should be better just because they have a guy that's been around football that understands the game. And if he's healthy, which is a risk at his age at this point, as we just saw him come off that devastating injury for the Jets, but he played decent football last year. So I look at it and say that 8.5 is probably my favorite bet on the board of the Steeler bets to go over there because that means 9-8 season, which is what Tomlin does every single year. They try to win football games at all costs. Like even if let's just say they're out of the playoffs with 3 weeks to go. They're still going to go full tilt those final 3 games to have a winning season. That's what they do. Now, you say, well, Donnie, why don't you take the plus money? If they win 9 games, there's probably a good chance they make the playoffs. Well, if they win 9 games, I cash my ticket. If they win 9 games, that doesn't mean they make the playoffs. So that's the reason why I'm not taking the plus money. I know what the Steelers are about. They're no longer about winning Super Bowls. That's far-gone conclusion at this point. But Mike Tomlin always has the ship pointed in the right direction, which means just staying above good enough to say, hey, another winning season and we'll be in the mix again next year. And that's what they'll do this year again.
But Donnie, I think they are trying to sell a bill of goods to their fan base that all of these moves based on name and notoriety is that they are trying to win a Super Bowl, is that they are trying to be a true contender in the AFC. Quarterbacks like Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, Duck Hodges, and Mason Rudolph led the Steelers to a winning record and a playoff spot. Aaron Rodgers doing that even in year number 21 at age 41 would not be a surprise. Completely agree with you. I do think the Steelers will ultimately continue the track record of Mike Tomlin, 18 consecutive years now, entering year number 19 of never a losing record, never fewer than 8 wins. Even if they get to 8, that's a losing record for the first time ever under Mike Tomlin. Will they be a playoff team? Heck, I could see that plus 140. But anything else on that board, 5-1 to win the AFC North, 20-1 to contend for an AFC title, or 44-1 to win a Super Bowl, wouldn't do it. In fact, DRS, you can bet stage of elimination. Where a team is ousted. Do they make the playoffs? Yes or no? Do they win a playoff game? Do they make it to a championship game in a conference? All of that good stuff. I would look at stage of elimination for the Pittsburgh Steelers and still feel the same way. To make the divisional round for Pittsburgh, that more than likely would mean winning a playoff game, is plus 350. I still think that is pretty far off for the Steelers, despite all of these moves. Signing Aaron Rodgers, adding Darius Slay, trading for DK Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey, and now Jonnu Smith. I don't believe it really elevates the ceiling in the Steel City, which of course is the most important thing here in 2025 under Mike Tomlin.
Like, it feels like the high watermark this year is going to be winning 10 games and making the playoffs. But I do think there is a disaster mode that could happen. But it's hard to do. Like, when has Mike Tomlin and the Steelers been in disaster mode? It just doesn't happen. Like, Duck Hodges of the world. Like, they're still trying to win football games. Always the calling card for them is, let's not get too crazy on offense because we typically don't have the quarterback. Now, Ben Roethlisberger was a very good quarterback throughout his career. But you see, like, what Mike Tomlin really wants to do in games. Like, hey, buddy, you're up 10-0. It's okay to go up 17-0 here. Don't settle for the field goal for 13-0 and play with your defense. But that works long-term with just winning football games. But again, the high watermark is like 10 games for me winning. But you could see like an option where it's 5 or 6 games out there. And hey, Mike, love you. You tried it with Aaron Rodgers. We gave you all the tools you needed. It's really time to go in a new direction here into the 21st century, per se, in Pittsburgh. But I still do think Mike Tomlin wins. He wins just enough, and that's enough to get 8.5 wins.
Plus 360 for Pittsburgh to be bounced out in the wild card round on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Donnie, I think that's a very fair conversation around Mike Tomlin. Even if it works this year with Aaron Rodgers and they get to 10-7, but are ousted in that opening round, will there be a conversation about what is next? Because the development of the quarterback room, when you add a 41-year-old, is not exactly there. And frankly, Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, doesn't matter. Aaron Rodgers is still the difference. Around Major League Baseball, next.
Let's get down to business with the particulars. The Pittsburgh Steelers will get Jalen Ramsey into their defensive backfield. They'll get Jonnu Smith.
All this talk I'm hearing about they're going to trade TJ Watt, that's not happening either. Okay, so I don't think that's even remotely in the cards. All this talk today, he's next. I don't believe that. I think they're going to give him a new deal.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I do believe that SJ now is the #1 player in the world. The things that he can do from the point of attack, offensively and defensively, his ability to drive downhill and score at all 3 levels. And the thing I like most about this young man at 26, he's so humble. He's so humble. And that speaks to the whole culture of OKC that Sam Presti and Mark Daigneault has built. Humble team, folks.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Will Aaron Judge be at the top of the home run board in MLB? What say you?
Judge probably is going to hit 55, 58. Somewhere around there is his number there. So I'll say I'm going to buy this. And Aaron Judge will lead the major leagues in home runs this year. Listen, I'm not breaking news. I probably would take that every year. And when he plays this next couple until he's getting up there in age, until his bat does start to slow down.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA, DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course than OKC, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
An 8-game slate on a Monday around Major League Baseball, the final day of June. It is July now in the bigs, in these summer months, the dog days of summer. It feels like that's when Major League Baseball intensifies. It was career start number 2 for the second overall pick last summer in the 2024 MLB draft. The flamethrower Chase Burns dazzled in the first few frames of his debut last week against the New York Yankees. This week in Boston, inside Fenway Park, not as great. Gets just 1 out in his second career start as the Red Sox jump all over Burns in that opening frame. They score 7 in the first inning, and then Wheelier Abreu backs it up later on, DRS. An inside the park homer in the 5th. A grand salami in the 8th. For Boston. Abreu becomes the 6th ever player in MLB history to have an inside the park home run and a grand slam in a single game in different ABs. The first to do so since 1958 when Roger Maris accomplished the feat. So what a day for Boston. Not a great day for Chase Burns as the Sox win 13-6 over Cincy last night.
Yeah, you know it's bad when Roman Anthony's getting 2 base hits against you in a single game at this point. So an easy cruise victory, 13-6 here for the Boston Red Sox. And we do want to see Chase Burns. And usually it's the opposite effect, though. Like you're supposed to come up, if you throw gas in the minor league system and you're one of the best prospects, usually we see, Ben, that 5 or 6 straight starts to open up like, man, you can't touch this kid because there's no book and you haven't seen him before. Like these guys are seeing like 1 or 2 pitches from the guy and now started to hammer him. Now he will bounce back. You don't just see a kid that has all these high expectations and he's ruined from 2 career starts. But that certainly was one like, hey, let's see the kid bounce back. And he was like, well, he gave up 5 runs, but he pitched 6 innings and had 11 strikeouts. He'll get it together. Like they knocked him up in game, inning number 1, 7 runs by the bottom first, and you don't make it out of that inning. That's always crushing it because the last thing you want to do is like, okay, we'll send you back to the minors. Like you almost have to let this kid get a really good start before they go, okay, he's had his play Major League Baseball. He finally settled in. Let's get him some innings down in AAA because the All-Star break is coming up. Use some sort of excuse that way, but it's not a good look where it's like, hey, we need you in a bounce-back start here, see what you can do, and you can't even get more than 1 out in a start. That's tough.
I mean, he was pretty good in his opening game in Major League Baseball. Again, he recorded his first 6 outs against the Yankees last week, all via a strikeout, but to Donnie's point, second time through that order, the Pinstripes put up 3 earned against him. The Reds did rally for an extra innings win. I still think Chase Burns is going to be great for Cincinnati, and there's a lot of young pitching talent for this Reds organization. Right now at the big league level, Hunter Green, who is a Cy Young contender entering the year, Andrew Abbott, who has had a great season. You've got a guy in Rhett Lauder battling with injuries. He was the 7th overall pick the summer prior in 2023, and I do expect Chase Burns to bounce back. Just not a great night in Boston. Another good night, though, for Cal Raleigh yesterday, DRS, out in Seattle. We looked at the price. Playing in the Northwest, Big Dumper had not hit a home run in 6 consecutive games. What was going wrong? It was plus 240 last night for him to hit a long ball for the M's, and he does. To end out the final day of June, MLB leading 33 home runs for Cal Raleigh. Only Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire, 39 for Bonds. McGwire, 37, hit more home runs in a season before the month of July officially began. Cal Raleigh on a torrid pace that we hope he continues all summer long for Seattle.
Yeah, we had warm weather last night, as we talked about in Seattle, so certainly helping there, the home run. 6-2 final, sneaks over that 7.5, and maybe you're looking at the Seattle Mariners and, okay, the hitting's coming around. George Kirby's pitching well again. 6 innings pitched, only 1 earned run there. Waka, not so much success yesterday. 5 innings, 5 earned runs. It was a tough handicap all the way around, but it just feels like when you talk about the Mariners, you're just on Cal Raleigh watch, finally back hitting a home run where maybe he goes on a streak in the opposite direction, 6 straight games with a home run here. But he hits one at home in one of the toughest ballparks to hit home runs. You got to like to see that.
DRS yesterday, the Philadelphia Phillies dominant. Zach Wheeler dominant. 8 innings of scoreless baseball. 10 Ks. The Phils become the 4th team in MLB to reach 50 wins. And more good news for Philadelphia. Bryce Harper returns his first game since June 5th. Didn't do much at the dish, but just to have Harper back in the fold, of course, is huge for the Phillies.
One of the all-time pitching performances you're seeing right now from that Phillies staff. Everybody seems like they have the ability to shut somebody out. And also, I had a 4.5 team total in the Phillies. They got to 4. Did you know Max Kepler hit a home run that Jackson Merrill said, "Oh, no, you don't," for a 3-run bomb? Yeah, that's how my night went. But happy the Phillies won.
Sorry, DRS. Hour number 2 up next.